here we are once again. Hello, friends out there. Welcome back to another edition of the Grunge Bible Podcast. My name is Chris Salona, joined by Ethan Shalloway. Welcome to episode 60. Ethan, how are you?
Episode 60, woohoo! If we talked about this last week, the 60th birthday, I would imagine, I feel like that's when you stop having big birthdays on decades. Like, I feel like 21, obviously, then
Until
you got 30.
Make it to 100.
30, 40, and 50 seem like they're worth having like a party. Like, I want to have a nice party when I turn 50, but after that, yeah, not until you're 100 years old. So 60 doesn't mean anything.
I feel like 60 is the age that you realize you cannot do many of the things that you used to be able to do.
My dad turned 60 this year.
The great reckoning is coming.
My older brother turns 30 and my dad turns 60. Both in August.
This is an overwhelming year for the Shalloway clan then, huh?
Yeah. And then my birthday when I turned 28 on September 28th, that's the golden year.
Birthday.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing until my brother told me.
Well, the good thing you didn't miss out.
I know.
Good thing he told you on time.
My little brother, he's the 16th, so he missed it. So you obviously haven't in a few years.
Yeah, I have advance notice. I have a few more years before that happens. But how are we doing today?
Yeah, how are we doing? It is Wednesday, so a little later in the recording.
Wednesday, May 11th. We are sitting down to record this lovely episode, which will be released on Monday, the 16th of May.
Yeah, for all those people keeping track at home. Yeah, it's midweek. It's been a long week already. Got a lot coming down the pipe. A lot to be prepared for the next couple of weeks. So, it was a hot one outside today. We worked outside in the labor job, and it's been just one of those grinders. We're just getting after it. So I'm doing okay. I'm pretty tired. I'm wearing my hoodie and I'm wearing a beanie to show off just how tired I can be. But no, I'm doing. Other than that, I am doing pretty good. I'm just beat, man. But how are you?
I am also beat. I have waved the white flag. This week has just been a total drag. I had a good weekend. One of my good friends from college unexpectedly came into town. So the candles were burned at all conceivable ends. Furthermore, on Monday night, I went up to Boston to see John Mayer perform. That was really awesome, but it was another late night, and I begin working most weekdays at 6:30 in the morning. So for those of us who are mathematically inclined, I did not get much sleep the last 6 or 7 days, and that deficit is coming to roost here today. So yeah, we're hurting a little bit.
Hurting for certain.
We're hurting for certain. Yes, indeed.
But other than just my body feels good. It feels tired and sore, but it feels good. It feels like I've been busy, and I always like that. I wrote down, Chris. This is a very philosophical question, but what feelings make you feel most alive? Start this episode with something crazy, like when I'm like an example, like when I work out to exhaustion, or I have a full day and I'm exhaustion, I take a shower and I come out and your body is fully relaxed, like after the hot water and then taking like the sweat off your body and the salt, like that's when I feel most like I feel really full of life, when I'm like exhausted. I know it's like the opposite.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A couple things that come to mind, certainly working your body hard physically, getting the heart rate going, and when things feel well in that realm, athletically especially, you feel really good. I guess aside from the physical aspect, things that make me feel alive, connection and time spent with people that I care about, being around people that I love or people that love me. A nice sunny day, which I have a few of those coming this week. I'm really excited about that. Hopefully it'll breathe some life back into me and make me feel alive. But yeah, it's all the good things. I mean, the bad things can make you feel alive too, but in maybe less desirable ways.
Yeah.
But they're out there.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. maybe you'll get. Sometimes you said you got some sun coming up.
Oh yeah.
The next couple of days. That's good.
We're
I'd say
excited.
you have your first fresh crisp day where you can feel like you just want to go outside and crack a few beers, take your shirt off, take your shoes off, and just enjoy that.
That's another thing. That's another thing
we're
looking for.
That's another day that makes me feel alive. I'm just out there and the wind's blowing and it's crisp, as I like to say. But
100%.
So what do we got for this episode, Chris? What do we got coming down the pipe?
Yeah,
next 30 minutes.
Before we get into it, this is great because the stars have aligned and we have a new Patreon member that we would like to announce, and we also have a little editorial that we need to add, but they're connected. So I would love to announce our new top level patron is someone who's going by the name Fresh Tendinitis. So welcome aboard, Fresh Tendinitis. They made the leap, but not only did they make the leap, but we say it every episode. We want your feedback. We want the good, the bad, the ugly, the indifferent. Lay it on us. We're not shy. We have thick skin. Complain about us, whatever. But anyways, Fresh Tendinitis commented on a post not too long ago with a little bit of a complaint about the episode that we did for episode 51, where we reviewed Soundgarden's Super Unknown album. And at the time, I believe we both characterized the song Fresh Tendrils as quote unquote filler. And I think I used the analogy that after the run of songs beforehand, Fresh Tendrils is like a cigarette break where you can kind of tune out of the album before you get ready for the end of the of the record. And we received a comment from Fresh Tendinitis before they became Fresh Tendinitis, telling us that we should take another look, and we have. And by golly, did we fuck up,
dude? I read that comment and it was like, just try it, see it once my way, basically.
Yeah.
And I thought about it and I was like, you know what? I was like, that was wrong of us. We definitely I needed to go back and take a look in the mirror. This is the slap back to reality that I needed to have as a so-called grunge guy. So
yeah,
I did my due diligence. I went and listened to it last night. I listened to it honestly 10 times today. I just put it in. I listened to Soundgarden and Chris Cornell all day as I was working outside. But Fresh Tendrils, dude, I just let it take over my life as it should today. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad we had that rec. Damn, it's good.
Yeah, it's
long
really
time
fantastic.
Coming. Many serve the few.
Throw yourself away. Well, I'm glad that we've thrown our old selves away and we're now fully able to embrace this song. But it's one of those things where, to kind of extrapolate that on a little bit, it is nice to sometimes challenge yourself with songs or artists or albums that you might not necessarily like from time to time. If you listen to an album, song or two, or the whole record doesn't connect with you, give it some time, get to a different point in your life, a different headspace, different demeanor, and take another listen, because you never know when something is going to jump out at you again. And it's great to be reminded of that. So welcome aboard, Fresh Tendinitis. Thank you for altering our view and moving forward. We will never forget Fresh Tendrils.
Yeah, it teaches us a good new vocabulary word, because we had to look up tendrils.
Yes.
And tendrils, for the people listening, is a twisting thread-like structure by which a twining plant, such as a grape or cucumber, grasp an object or a plant for support. And I think that definitely goes with the kind of the theme of the newborn and the rest of the album. And it was really good. I worked in a lot of ivy and twine today, so it was kind of ironic. Yeah. A lot of trees were being hung up by the branches because they were hanging on for dear life.
Yep.
Just as sometimes we do.
Hey, that's us sometimes, hanging on by a tendril.
The fresh tendrils of the job and the environment just keep us there. And
I don't have any fresh tendrils. All mine are rotten, about to fall out and drop me.
Just wait, Chris. Wait till you get a new endeavor. You'll have some fresh ones
just wait
to keep you on.
My time is coming. So Fresh Tendinitis joins this proud legion of top-level patrons, and they are Darian Riddle, Brenda, Alex Long, Captain Hightop, Black Hole Sean, Chris LSMS, Lauren Irene, Nikki Six, Shannon Gorgone, Sue, Sunny Mashburn, Marianne, Kayla Jean, Millie, Alexis Shannon, Jamie Lynn, our number one fan from Australia, What the Fuck's Up Denny's, Release, Rachel Corning, Fuck Soup, Doug Endy, Jade Mercado, Carlene Salona, Wayne Staley, Victor Schaefer, Kara K, and the Blue Owl. And I have to say that was probably my quickest run through the top level patrons. We're moving right through here, but to everybody out there who is a top level patron, who is a middle tier patron, or who is an entry level tier patron, thank you for your support. It means a lot to us, and it has sustained us for now 60 episodes plus a plethora of bonus episodes and bonus content that is only available on Patreon. So if you like the show so far, which I think you might, that might be worth checking out. We would surely appreciate that if you did.
Yep, there's nothing better than getting a notification of somebody that has decided to do that. So please give us that moment of joy.
Yeah. So, Ethan, we were talking earlier today before we recorded, and most of the time we don't plan our episodes out with a whole bunch of forecasting or strategy. It's usually what we feel like talking about. But here, during this week, this is the 16th of May that this episode's coming out. I immediately remembered looking at the calendar that 5 years ago this week, Chris Cornell passed away. And I vividly remember hearing the news and processing it at the time. So it was kind of a no-brainer that this week we need to take some time and talk about Chris Cornell. And I can't believe that it's already been 5 years, to be honest with you. I was writing in my notes for the show here, and I looked it up. Like, I knew it was 2017 that he passed away, but 5 years, it just it doesn't.
That's so long.
It doesn't feel like it's been 5 years at all.
No, it doesn't, and that could be for a lot of it feels like the last 3 years with the pandemic has just morphed into one. But 5 years. I mean, I very vividly remember it was postseason, and like everybody had kind of moved out. The campus was bare in a way. Like, it was just about to get to that point. So. And I remember getting the text from somebody back home, Andy, who's been on the podcast, actually. Yeah. He texted me, and then I don't know if I texted you or you texted me when we started talking, but it was early morning.
It was very early.
And it was weird. It was so weird to see that and to, like, as it has been when we've lost people since then, but it was such a weird thing to read. I was in bed. I was laying in bed. I don't know. I remember I literally woke up to the news. It was weird.
Yeah. I was in a similar position. My track and field season, I was a junior in college. I'd finished up my junior year, and my season had just ended. And the few days leading up to what ended up being the day of his death, my girlfriend at the time and I went up to Minneapolis from Ames, Iowa, where I lived at the time. And that day, before I heard the news, drove back and ended up. I got drunk. I went out that night, and so the following morning, I remember waking up very early because I didn't feel very well. Maybe about 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and instinctively, as you do, you get up and you take a look at your phone. And I had gotten up because I wasn't feeling well. I needed to take some ibuprofen or drink some water or whatever. And I looked at my phone, and I think it was Time Magazine. For some reason, I had notifications set up, and I got a notification, and you see those words that, Soundgarden frontman, musician Chris Cornell dead. My heart skipped a beat as soon as I comprehended what the words were on my screen, because it didn't compute right away once I read them. I think part of it was the malaise of having just woken up, and then number two, the fact that I think at that point in my life I still had this strange feeling that people who make it to that point in their careers or that point of life, they've made it. Their suffering and their struggle should be done. And I just remember being absolutely and utterly shocked and at a loss for words. And this was a time, Ethan, for the both of us where it was almost the height of our interest and uh, the height at which we were impacted by this genre and by Chris's work. I mean, the grunge renaissance or just storm in our life was full blow, and this was just crushing, I remember, and it was I just I got very emotional when I read it.
Yeah. When you say, yeah, it was like the heightened kind of influential time for us with the music. So, because everybody knows we didn't grow up during that time. So it's like, I want to say it's like, yeah, meeting, it's like a new relationship after a few years being taken away. And of course, we didn't view, I mean, I would say Kurt or the people that were passed away before. Like, it's different when you like find out and they're not around when you first start listening to them. But it felt very, yeah, like you just met somebody and then they moved away, but forever, felt very kind of personal. As I know that it felt that for everybody that it was experiencing the same thing across the country and the world. That was an incredibly tragic day. And then I can't believe that it's been 5 years. Man, he had such an impact on the music scene and the music to follow. I think he is still impacting and still impactful for the people. Like he's a legend. I mean, he's an icon, I think, in the rock and roll scene, the music scene, and I think that it will be for a long time, just like a few of the others. All of them, really.
It's interesting. You made a good point in terms of our relationship with this loss, as opposed to the deaths of the likes of Kurt Cobain and Lane Staley. And I remember, I believe it was last year, where it had marked 27 years since Kurt Cobain had passed away, and everyone was saying that they couldn't believe that it had been just as long since his death as the length of his life, because he died when he was 27 and it had been 27 years. And the passage of time really gets me with this one, because I do feel that when he did pass away, I did have a pretty intimate relationship with his work, and it was impacting me on a daily basis. I mean, I listened to his music, whether it be solo stuff, Soundgarden, Temple, audio, whatever. I was listening to it all the time. I was devouring it. I was learning about myself and the world through his work.
I think I was actually having similar thoughts early. Like when you first find a song and you decide to listen to it 10 times in a row, it's good. It's still it, and then like the passage of time makes you numb to like those initial feelings. Like, I mean, Mr. Brightside is my favorite, or Nirvana, Smells Like Teen Spirit. Like when it broke, like I envy the people that had the experience when it first broke, because that's how impactful and special it was. Like that's kind of how it was for us. Like those first 2 years or 3 years of listening to them, it's like everything is new, everything is fresh. Like we're having all those, and it's so, it's very different. Yeah. I know what it was. I was listening. The classic rock station was playing some music, and I can just I just picture my dad listening to songs, and they play the same songs on the radio for 25 years now.
Right. Yeah. Classic rock has remained unchanged for the last quarter century. But you're totally right, though, because we went into it without having an understanding of the cliches around the genre, without understanding the cliches about songs like Black Hole Sun or Teen Spirit or Jeremy or Rooster or what have you. And I just remember, for us, it was Pearl Jam that was the first. And then I think for me, my next band from the grunge era was Soundgarden. And obviously, when you listen to Soundgarden, the thing that jumps out at you immediately and heavily was Chris Cornell. It was his voice, and just thinking of the work that he did with Soundgarden. And it's funny,
like Fresh Tendrils.
Yeah, and it's funny because he's been gone for 5 years, and Lately, I've only just now been getting into the last Soundgarden album that they released in 2012, King Animal. I had always overlooked it because there were so many great records from the 80s and 90s that they put out that I hadn't been ready to move away from those yet to examine another area, and I'm still doing it, and I'm still learning about new songs. I mean, case in point, the day that I learned that he passed away, the first song that I heard when I just went to go shuffle Chris Cornell music on Spotify, the first song that I heard, I hadn't heard it before, was Sun Shower. And
Yeah,
that,
I
I mean,
remember this.
that brought me to tears. And it's just, you have this just response to music that matters that sometimes could just bring you to your knees. And Chris did that with everything that he did. I mean, we talk about Bad Motorfinger at length on this podcast. We talk about Super Unknown, and Down on the Upside is never far from my rotation. I mean, and that's only his life in Soundgarden professionally is only a portion of his professional endeavors. I mean, Temple of the Dog. I mean, you can't find another fitting tribute for a friend that he put that together for Andrew Wood, and it's so sad to listen to a lot of his stuff throughout his entire catalog and listen to it knowing that he's passed away, and just to kind of jump to that Temple of the Dog project with Say Hello to Heaven. The lyric that always jumps out at me is, now it seems like too much love is never enough. You better seek out another road because this one's ended abrupt. And I remember listening to that one that day and thinking about it in a different way, and I always think about it in a different way now. But I mean, his everything that he did was impressive, and it sucks too because he had Audio Slave in the 2000s, and that was fantastic. But you and I had started to get into his solo stuff a little bit more around 2015, 2016, 2017, and Higher Truth had come out in 2015.
Yeah.
And I know we had really appreciated the song Worried Moon, and I think that entire record as a whole, Nearly Forgot My Broken Heart, Before We Disappear, Let Your Eyes Wander. And for me at the time, it kind of felt like he was really starting to settle into the next chapter of his career as being an elder statesman of music, and being universally respected, and putting solo stuff out at his own pace. Soundgarden, they were going to put things out at their own pace, and who knows what future collaborations he may have had, and what different projects, what soundtracks, what have you. And it just stinks to know, it's been 5 years since he's passed away, and obviously since he's been gone, he hasn't recorded anything new. He hasn't created anything new. And it's really sad. I know we've gotten a couple of bits of unreleased material that have come out. I think the No One Sings Like You Anymore album that was put out posthumously, but it's just different. And yeah, I just can't believe it's been 5 years.
Yeah, his solo stuff, I feel like each band has really awesome acoustic work, but for some reason, like when I think of solo and acoustic, like Chris Cornell's work really sticks out, and he's got really some amazing performances, some great stuff. A lot of good videos on YouTube, and he just had this very intimate acoustic voice. Like it always seemed so intimate. It always seemed like he was singing to you, or it always seemed like he was singing to somebody, and he was like, come on in. I'm gonna sing a few songs if you want to listen. And then you're like, yeah, that sounds great. And then you put your headphones in, and you hear him sing, these songs, and oh man, it's just. His acoustic work is some of my favorites for sure. If catch me, it's just like when I just want an acoustic voice and a guitar. Really good stuff. Just it's almost incredible stuff, actually.
It's so incredible. It's almost hard to understand that the same person who sang Beyond the Wheel could bring it down 25 years later and give you something like Let Your Eyes Wander, and could be that calming presence of, he's just up there with an acoustic guitar, and like you said, I'm here. Come on in and listen, and we'll share some intimate
Yeah.
time together through this music. And I think that's the one thing about so many of these artists that have a long musical career is the versatility and the different areas that they go into. And that's something that I almost I almost kind of think of acoustic solo Chris as like a different person than Soundgarden, long hair, shirtless, stomping around in 1991 Chris Cornell. Um, but I mean, it was all him, and he shared all of himself throughout his professional career, and um, certainly since he's passed away, I think I've only listened to his music more, and I don't think that's ever going to change.
Yeah. Where do you think he would rank all time as far as like it's almost he's like a two-way player, you know? He's got the acoustic and the electric, and he does, you know, because sometimes people are like, you know, they're just meant to be acoustic, like I don't know, John Butler Trio, or like, you know, they're all his acoustic stuff is just so much better with acoustic guitar, and like and acoustic vocals, and then you have the electric guys. Like his two-way ability is you know, second to none. I mean, he's
You know what it reminds me of?
Who?
Neil Young. Neil Young will go out there with Crazy Horse and just make your ears explode for 2.5 hours, playing heavy, playing super high energy, super sludgy, and then, you know, he can Crazy Horse can go to the back and he'll pull out an acoustic guitar and he'll play Needle and the Damage Done, or he'll play Don't Let It Bring You Down, and Chris is the same way. I mean, Soundgarden with those guys, they will melt your face, and then he could just switch. And I mean, and he did that a little bit even in Audio Slave. I mean, same thing. They could just blow you away, and he could have an acoustic guitar. I think there was a Pink Pop, I forget which year, but I think they may have opened their set with I Am the Highway, and it's just Chris out there with an acoustic guitar. And you can see there's this great shot in the video of Tom Morello watching, and he has such admiration in his eyes for what Chris was out there doing.
I'm playing with Chris Cornell.
And that's the same person that would lead the band through a performance of like Coach Eyes not even 20 minutes later. And it's just it's crazy the latitude that he carried with him throughout his career, and even his ability to take a heavy Soundgarden song and strip it down and play it acoustically. That was always super cool. He was always playing some different stuff on his acoustic tours and covers, and I mean, you never really knew what to expect, and it was just so amazing.
Yeah, he would have kept making music for a long time. I mean, obviously, and you're right. He had he did the obviously the Temple of the Dog tour, and he was releasing all the you know, he had his solo stuff, and I feel like he maybe Audio Slave would have played another installment.
They did a one-off reunion show in early 2017, and I think at the time there was a news report. I think they either interviewed Tom Morello or Chris, and I forget which one, but the general sentiment was, "Hey, that was fun. We should do that again sometime." And obviously, there's still an unfinished Soundgarden record that was recorded sometime.
Yeah, it was like he was working on like all of them. You know what I mean? He was doing all of it at once, just very involved. So
and it's just I think for me, aside from the music, I think it was kind of one of the first big wake up calls that I had in regards to mental health, because I think during the mental health episode that we did in last fall, I kind of talked about how for some reason I had that picture in my head, or that idea in my head, that, you know, people struggle when they're young, and if they can make it through the struggles when they're young, they're going to be okay. And Chris, obviously, like everybody else, I think it had struggles when he was young, and he seemed to have made it through. And I think it was a huge wake up call for me to not, you know, you can't let your guard down, and you have to be empathetic towards people regardless of where they're at in their life, whether they have attained every metric of success or not, because it's not. No one is immune to it. And I mean, he passed away hours after playing a show with Soundgarden in Detroit. And, he's touring with this band that sold millions of records. He's playing shows to adoring fans. And it's just, that was a big takeaway for me, at a point that I hadn't really struggled a whole lot in my life, to just be aware that it doesn't matter if you have everything on paper, because it can still happen. So support people around you and support yourself when you can, because you always should.
Well said. There was definitely a well, I had a similar idea that, yeah, I mean, if you're old enough, then it's supposed to get easier. Once you pass through, you're making life decisions basically. Once you get into something and do it for, but yeah, there's that's not how it works, and things kind of progress and build on top of each other. So it may even get harder as you go on, and that's why staying on top of it is really important.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and I think it's 5 years ago, and I think for me, since then, the way that I choose to keep his impact on me alive is to share his music with people that may not know it, and to play it often and to play it loudly. And it's kind of like that adage that I know we say back and forth to one another, that you die two deaths. One, when your last breath is taken, and secondly, when someone says your name here on earth for the last time. And I mean, Chris Cornell, in those terms, he's never gonna die. He's never gonna die that second death. I mean, he impacted so many people. He had a wife, he had children, he had bandmates, he had friends, and millions of fans and people that he impacted. And it was a life that was cut way too short, but it was a life that, through the choices that he made throughout his professional career and public career, and privately, as a father, as a husband, as a friend, etc., the amount that he gave to people is really, really incredible. And he's still giving that, because he left so much for us to experience.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say that no one sings like him anymore. No one sings like you anymore.
Yeah.
And we're so happy that we had our experiences with Chris Cornell, and I think everybody out there would think the same. I know that for a fact. So take some time, listen, enjoy, and remember the icon, remember the legend, Chris Cornell. No better time than today. And I know we've been listening to Jerry Cantrell and a lot of Soundgarden and Chris Cornell.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. Long live Chris Cornell.
Speaking of Jerry Cantrell, if we check in, I think this, we're recording on the 11th. The May 8th is his last tour date in the U.S.
Yeah, the
He's
U.S.
playing in
leg
San
of the Brain
Diego.
tour is over, isn't it?
So they just finished 3 days ago, but don't worry.
He's
not
not
done.
San Diego.
He rocks San Diego. I heard he put on a killer show, but don't worry, he's picking up in Europe. He's going over to Europe and playing.
June 17th, it all starts again.
June 17th, it all starts. So, what's he got? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 shows. July 22nd in London will be his last one. So, maybe we have to go, Chris.
Maybe we have to go. And I think everyone out there, I do know the podcast demographics. They're predominantly North American based, but I do know we have some loyal listeners from across the pond. So if Jerry Cantrell is coming to a town, city, country,
Zurich,
or any other entity near you, you need to go and see the man, because I think we did, Ethan. I got some direct messages on the Instagram page. We did convince some people to go to the shows. I believe we did convince top level patron
Commission.
Millie to go to the show.
Oh yeah.
And they said best $25 I ever spent. They decided to be a person of action like we told them to.
Heck yes.
And they saw Jerry. And
that is actually incredible.
Yeah, so the 1-2 punch, they saw Jerry and then they saw Pearl Jam in San Diego. I mean, come on, you can't really do much better than that. So I implore you, even if you don't live in Europe, if you live in the United States and you're economically inclined to make that decision, fuck it, go hop across the pond, take a vacation and see Jerry Cantrell.
Why not? Like you say, just finish rocking the free world in San Diego.
Dude, he was rocking. COVID tried to get him, couldn't slow him down. He's back. He fought through your show at the Ryman, and he finished with a bang on the West Coast. He's hopping on a plane, and he's gonna take that energy. He's gonna take that energy to Europe, and hopefully he takes it everywhere.
I'm gonna be following along. I know that for damn sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you brought this up. I almost forgot to give the Brighton update.
We'll have to next week. We'll just have to check his Instagram and just comment on whatever he's posting at the time, and I'm sure it'll be awesome. I'm pretty excited to. We're just gonna keep in touch with the Jerry world all summer.
Oh, 100%. And also we made Jerry Cantrell money because we did convince Millie to go to the show. So.
Fun fact about we did make him some money. We deserve some commission, Jerry, if you're out there. But fun fact, remember when we first probably within our first 2 years, 3 years, when was it that we like tagged Jerry?
It was hashtag go his Instagram page.
It was right when he created his Instagram, and we hashtag go follow Jerry, and because we're like, wait a minute, do we have more followers than Jerry at that moment?
We had more followers than him then, and we still have more followers than him now. And it was one of those things. He joined Instagram, and this was back in the era where the two of us, we used to go live every weekend on the Instagram page, and that's when we started. We're like, what gives? Jerry Cantrell has an Instagram account, and he doesn't have as many followers as Grunge Bible. Like,
this isn't right.
Get out there and go follow Jerry Cantrell. So we did the hashtag follow Jerry, and I remember his posts from back then. They were just littered with hashtag follow Jerry
and his cats
and his cats. Exactly. Yeah, he has like a hairless cat.
A few hairless cats.
It's creepy as hell.
Oh yeah, that's why he had to take this month break, because he has to go to his cats. But yeah, his posts, people were literally tagging follow Jerry, and I think he passed us like quickly. But then we caught back up.
Now we are the title away.
We are back ahead, which is pretty cool.
That's what we're in service to these people that have certainly helped us. I mean, by this point, Ethan, I would hope, and it would be a great hope of mine, that in some way, shape, or form we have been able to kind of move that blip on the radar for how much money the song Wood is making Alice in Chains. I'd like to think we've moved the needle for them, maybe just a little bit.
Everyone has those questions that they're going to ask when they die, and that's going to be the first one I ask the big man upstairs. Like, all right, like, what kind of influence do we really have on the listening charts of...
Have they looked at our page? Do they know who we are?
First, did they hate us? I gotta know. Did Jerry know who Grunge Bible?
Because that's the thing. Like, I would be. You imagine you meet him and it's like, hey man, I see your page. Hey, I see you post Wood every week, and he's like, I fucking hate that. Like, what are you guys doing?
Please stop the pandering. So.
But, you know what? It's like that old quote: "The opposite of love is not hate; it's indifference." So if he hates us, it's better than him not caring, I guess.
I guess the Eddie Vedder. I guess all he has is the official count for Eddie Vedder, which is at 390K.
Yeah,
but it doesn't look like his personal. It's his personal count.
It's team run, I believe. Yeah, he has a pretty robust team that manages his stuff. But Jerry, I mean, that's pure unadulterated Jerry.
Yeah, because I was saying, like, I wonder who in the genre are we. Like, I know the band, obviously Pearl Jam has like millions of followers, but they're the biggest,
right?
Like,
I just want to know who's running the Mudhoney account because they've commented. I want to know who's running Puddle of Mud.
Do you think any of these people run there?
Mr. Puddle himself. because we've had contact with these people, so I don't know who they are, but we're upfront with who we are.
We could get Mr. Puddle. We could get Mr. Puddle on a podcast.
I think we can, and I think we should.
And we can ask him about the performance.
How about, so we're 9 episodes away from the 69th episode. Do you think?
Who do we have on for that, or what do we do?
I don't know. We have to do
saying?
Something for that. I mean, it might be Wes Scantlin. Hopefully,
let's see. 69 would be 9 weeks away, so that'll put us at June, July, end of July.
Later this summer. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna ask on Patreon for suggestions and strategy for the 69th Grunge Bible podcast celebration. Who we should interview or what our topic should be.
So if you really want your voice heard, head over to Patreon.
Costs $2 to be heard.
Become a $2 supporter, shitty cup of coffee, and we'll take your advice and do something crazy for the 69th episode.
Absolutely. So before we wrap up and get to Song of the Week, I would like to thank our producer, Drew McFadden, for all of his work on this project. I would like to thank everybody out there who's listened, who's subscribed, who's liked, commented. I would also like to thank people who have purchased merch. Seems like every week someone's out there, a couple of people are out there making some purchases. So I think crew neck season is over. But we've got t-shirts, we've got stickers, which, I mean, those are immune to the perils of the seasons. We have socks. So go ahead. We have beanies too, and it's never a bad time to rock the beanie. I mean, it's getting warmer. Ethan, you have one on right here. You have a sweatshirt on too. So if you want to support the show, and you want something tangible to show for it, other than access to Patreon and potentially me saying your name, go ahead, check out the merchandise page. That is always linked in the description of this podcast episode. So you go see something you like, make a purchase, and be sure to send us a photograph when it arrives. That is an instant way to get Grunge Bible to 1, notice you, and 2, repost you. So you're playing the long game, that's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we value the support, and we can be bought.
We can't. Everything has a price tag, and mine is not particularly high.
No, it's not. Well, I can start off the song of the week.
Absolutely,
it's a pretty easy choice for me this week. I listened to it all day. It's just been brought to my attention, and I'm looking up all the live performances that I've already streamed. But Fresh Tendrils by Soundgarden,
Fresh Tendrils, baby,
has to be the best song that you could listen to right now. So honestly, just stop the podcast. Go ahead and get your headphones if you're not listening to headphones. Every song is better with headphones.
Need the headphones. Get those out.
And it is really good. So like musically, it has a really, I mean, obviously it has the Soundgarden guitar to it, like, but it is like a classic. I'm surprised we overlooked it the first time, because it is a classic Soundgarden sounding song.
I'm disappointed in myself.
The lyrics are very are very Cornell. I mean, they're kind of simple, and they have these like,
and funnily
they're
enough,
syncopated, and he has these stops. He has the stops in it, and like the kind of like the beat drops, and it's very like, it's like it's a ballad. In a way.
Funnily enough, Chris Cornell collaborated with Matt Cameron for the lyrics to this song, and Matt wrote the music, but I think it's just the synergy of the band at the time that everybody was on the same page in such a way, and his delivery, I don't know who wrote what parts, that's lost to the ages or to those who were there, or to the internet, because I may not have done my due diligence in researching, because we do get things wrong on this podcast. And we're not infallible, but man, that's a ripper. Fresh Tendrils, I love that.
Yeah, dude, it's good, man. It's a deep song, It's not a surface level song, and we took it for that, and that's why we missed it the first time around. But really,
we learned we were liars.
You got to get your roots in there, and you got to let your Fresh Tendrils, man. So
you gotta sink in.
It's a good one. How about you?
So my song of the week, I was sitting down writing the notes, and usually I write down my song of the week on this little notepad here, so I don't panic at the time. And I knew that you were going to go with Fresh Tendrils. I wanted it to be mine, but I knew that it was going to be yours.
We've had some doubles before, but I understand.
We have, but also kind of reflecting and writing some notes about Chris Cornell and his music. One of his solo songs in particular jumped out at me as one that's always close to me, and that would be "The Keeper" by Chris Cornell. I believe it made its first appearance on the Songbook record, and yeah, this one is just it's definitely one of those songs that for me has a different meaning and has a different level of heaviness to it, knowing that Chris Cornell has passed away, obviously, and yeah, there's lyrics in the song that always give me chills. It's kind of towards the end, but I cannot see the light at the end of the tunnel tonight. My eyes are weary. And I mean, this is just a masterful song, and it's one that definitely makes me emotional at points because I do think about Chris, and it just kind of sinks in further every time I listen to this. The fact that he's not here, but we have music like this to remember him. And funnily enough, the songs of the week kind of speak to that duality that we were talking about earlier, where it's the same person singing on Fresh Tendrils as it is on The Keeper, and they may be separated by 15, 16 years. No, even longer than that. My math's all messed up. But it's just really, really incredible. So, as this episode has been a testament to Chris Cornell, this week's Song of the Week entries are also a further testament to the musician that was and the music that remains.
Well said. I like that. That's it. That's all we have for today's podcast. Thank you all for listening. Listen to Chris Cornell today. Listen to Soundgarden, Audio Slave, Temple of the Dog, however you want to take it in. And for that, we hope you have a great week, and we will see you same time, same place next week.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Take care of yourselves. See you next week.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll, baby.